Real estate agents, do you want to move your business forward? Well, I'm here to help. Hey guys, Brittany with Brittany Hannon Real Estate. I'm a real estate agent, coach, and investor. And every Monday at 11:30 Pacific Standard Time, I'm here to bring you information that's gonna help move your business forward. Whether you're a brand new beginner or an advanced top producer, I'm going to bring you key tips and tricks and strategies to move your business forward. This is your official invitation to join us live every Monday at 11:30 a.m. They're totally free. And if you want more information about coaching, check the link in my bio and I would love to help. Now let's jump into this week's workshop. This is the end of 2023 and we want to talk about new year, new success. We want to talk about creating your action plan. So at this point you would have already done, I'm back. Okay, so at this point you would have already done your business plan, but we're not going to touch on that necessarily, but what we want to talk about today is putting your business plan into action. So we've had the 135 business plan that we've talked about where you have one goal, you have 3 priorities, and then 5 strategies within each of those. So we're going to talk about a few things, a few ways of how to actually put that plan into action. All right. So let's talk about what are we going to do? Let's break it down. We are going to talk about how to focus and what to focus on. We're going to talk about creating that action plan. What should you do? How do you do it? We're going to talk about commanding your goals. We're actually going to sit in command for a little bit today because I want to make sure that you guys are understanding how to use command at a high level for your goals and for your tasks. We're going to talk about what's important now, how to win. And then, of course, as always, if you stay till the very end, we have a bonus pro tip for you. Okay, so let's talk about what do we focus on? Now, first of all, we talked about how we already know we've done our 135, so we know that we need to focus on some specifics. So if we said, okay, this year I'm really gonna, I have my number of how many transactions I want to complete. Now I'm really gonna focus in on doing open houses, or I'm really gonna focus in on doing client appreciation events or whatever it is. But this is kind of a little bit bigger picture. So we're talking about what should you focus on? Well, number one, you want to have clear goals. You want to make sure that your goals are crystal clear in your eyes. So if I come to you and I ask you in March, how many houses do you need to sell? You should be able to tell me without batting an eye, I need to sell 12 houses this year. I need to sell 10 houses this year. I need to sell 57 houses this year, whatever it is. I want to hear from you exactly what it is that you need to do. And if in March you've already sold 5 out of the 10, I want to hear, oh, well, I only need to sell 5 more houses this year, or I still need to sell 32 houses this year. How am I on track? How am I on board? Your goals need to be crystal clear. You have to understand those goals. We want to focus on creating that daily routine. Whatever your daily routine is, it has to involve lead generation. So it's important to have a routine. We all know this and we've talked about this before, that your brain, the way your brain works is that it operates so well with routine. Especially, and I like if you're neurodivergent in any way and you are, like your brain's kind of scattered and all over the place, creating those routines and making it so that you don't have one more choice or one more thing to do, it makes it so that you have so much more clarity. So create that daily routine. There should be no question about when am I going to lead gen. You should already have that as part of your daily routine. There should be no question about when am I going to brush my teeth. It's the same kind of thing. There's no question about some of these things that are basic things that we always do. And yet, so often we throw out lead gen because we don't even think about that as something that's an important thing to do or something that we have to focus on. So lead gen needs to be part of that daily routine. And we have to make sure that we are doing that such that we don't have to continually think about it, and it doesn't have to be something difficult. Now, what I also want to challenge you with, and tell you, we're going to talk about this a little bit later on, is that going into command should be the very first thing. When you sit down at your computer and say, okay, I'm going to start my day, command should be the very first thing that you open. And that will give you your task list. That will tell you what you need to do. That should be the first thing that you open. A lot of agents think, you know, the MLS should be the first thing that you open. And that definitely should be something that you open to look at the hot sheets, to stay up on the inventory. But command needs to be the very first thing. You need to have your tasks set for you so that you're seeing what you're doing that day. Social media. Now, I'm going to have this as a caveat. We want to focus on social media and have a social media strategy if that is part of your lead generation. If it's not part of your lead generation, if you say, I don't do social media, that's fine. Don't worry about it. However, I want to remind you that social media is a key way to be able to speak to the masses. You don't have to have a conversation one-on-one all the time. You can put it out and thousands of people can see that same conversation you're having. So social media is a really good way for you to connect with a lot of different people, for you to potentially gain lead sources. And I would challenge you, if this is not something that you have as part of your business plan yet, I would say maybe this is something you should add. If it's something that you absolutely hate, then don't worry about it. But this is definitely something that I would encourage you to do. Now, when we talk about what to focus on in saying social media, what I mean is creating a social media strategy. So we might be saying, okay, I'm going to post 3 times a week. And remember, we talk about if you're not posting 3 times a week, you're not doing it right. You should be posting at least 3 times a week. People need to see you. Now, depending on the platform you're on, it doesn't really matter whether it's in your posts, in your stories, what it is, but you have to be active and engaging people at least 3 times a week. More than that is better. So create a social media strategy. On Mondays, this is what I'm going to do. On Wednesdays, this is what I'm going to do. On Fridays, this is what I'm going to do. Sprinkle in the fun stuff. Like for me, I don't ever like to post about my own personal stuff. And so when I do, I'm being very intentional about that, because I just, like, before real estate, I was not a big social media person. I'm sure you guys are like, what? I don't believe that, but it's true. I was not a big social media person before real estate. And so I had to intentionally get into that. And this is, I have to like really think about, okay, I need to post something about my personal life. And so if I'm ever doing something fun, I always post it on my real estate page, and, you know, cute things about my puppy and things like that. So that's part of my strategy, because people want to know the real you. So that's part of what your strategy needs to be. So maybe on Mondays, you know, one easy way to do it is right after your team meeting. So whatever day your team meeting is, mine is on Tuesdays, right after your team meeting, you can have an update about whatever the lender talked about. And say, hey, on Tuesdays is going to be my mortgage update. And we can talk about, hey, interest rates are really good. What does that mean for you? Interest rates are really bad. What does that mean for you? And just talk about, basically regurgitate what your lenders just talked about, what you just learned from your brokers, what you just heard in your team meeting. That's a really easy way to be able to create valuable content. Then maybe another day is your caravan, your broker tours. Go out, take some videos, and do house tours. Everybody loves house tours. Maybe another day you do polls exclusively. Polls are a really good way to get that engagement. And for social media, engagement is key. So you want to do polls, you want to do quizzes and things that captivate people's audience. Captivate your audience. And so you want to ask questions, and they don't need to be like super specific real estate questions. It can be, what kitchen do you like better? I remember the lottery was like super big, and I was like, okay, if you won the lottery, what is the most important thing you would redo in your house? Your kitchen, your bathroom, or your backyard? And then I got a lot of engagement on that. So it's just that idea of You just need to have a system and a strategy. Now, I would say that your strategy needs to be something that is realistic. So if you say, I'm going to post 15 times a week, and currently you only post once a week, it's probably not realistic. But if you say going from once a week to 3 times a week, that's pretty realistic. I would even say 5 times a week is realistic if you're starting to get intentional about it. And if you create a strategy like this that we're saying makes it easy. So you need to make it easy for yourself. Client appreciation. We all need to have an element of client appreciation to focus on next year. Because guess what? You've heard that interest rates are starting to go down. What does that mean for us? Well, as interest rates go down, we're still not down to the lowest. And we won't ever know when that is until we're starting to go up again. So we'll never know what the lowest point is until we go up. So we need to be riding this ride just like everybody else. And we need to say, based on basic economics, this is what this means. When interest rates go down, buyers flood the market, housing prices go up, especially if we have low inventory, which we currently do. Here's the other key, is that even if sellers start to sell, because the problem lately has been, you know, sellers have a 2% interest rate. They don't want to sell and go into an 8% interest rate. So they're staying put. But if interest rates start to go down, they might be willing to go to a 5% interest rate. They might be willing to go from 2 to 5%. And so sellers are going to start to sell. However, there is still going to be a lack of supply because we still are behind the 8 ball when it comes to new housing. So that's why, especially in California, we're just going to continue to have this supply issue. Even if people start to sell, we're still going to have a supply constraint. And so that's okay. What that means is that housing prices are likely still going to continue to rise. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to rise as fast as they did before, but they're likely still going to be continuing to rise. So it's still a good time to buy. The other thing to keep in mind is that when interest rates get to 5.5%, 5%, everybody is gonna want to buy a house. Everybody. And what is that gonna do to housing prices? It's gonna make them go sky high again, because that's what we saw in 2020, 2021, was that so many people were coming and wanting to take advantage of these lower interest rates. And they were saying, I'll pay $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 over asking. And you're in these incredibly stressful, crazy bidding wars. And your client, as an average buyer, is going to be outbid almost every time. And so when we talk to our clients, we need to remind them, if you're thinking of selling, now is the time. Before those interest rates hit rock bottom, now is the time to sell. And so we need to really be having these client appreciation talks and meetings and focusing on this, because we need to be having these conversations with them. If they're thinking of selling in the next year or two, then we need to be having these conversations to talk about, here's what interest rates look like and here's what this means for you. So client appreciation events, whatever that looks like for you. I'm not going to tell you you should be doing a specific one. It's whatever that looks like for you. Maybe that's over the holidays delivering cookies. Maybe that's not over the holidays, because everybody does stuff over the holidays. So maybe that's in the new year, you know, giving something fun. Maybe it's at holidays, you go back. And listen, this can be past clients, it can be potential clients, it can be future clients, whatever a client looks like to you. We want to appreciate them. And essentially, this is opening the door for these conversations that we want to have. So think about your client appreciation. I would say you should do this about at least twice a year, preferably quarterly, for your clients who are your actual good clients that you're thinking are going to be like those ambassadors for you. Somebody who's going to say, I love my agent, and you need to use them. We need to appreciate those clients because they're the ones who are going to give you more clients. An educational commitment. So committing to education, this is no matter what part of the journey you're on, we always have to be learning. We always have to be growing. Real estate is ever changing. What we're looking at today is nothing like what it was like 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 100 years ago. It's always different. And so we always need to know what we can be doing now to best serve our clients. And the way we do that is commit to learning and growing. We're never going to be 100% at our top peak potential. We're always going to be able to learn and grow. So commit to education. If you're in coaching, that's one way that you're committing to growing yourself. So that's excellent. I would also say if you're at the financial ability, go to some conferences this year. Conferences are a great way to be able to grow yourself and grow your knowledge and understanding and be able to provide value to your clients. So if you can do that financially, I would say commit to going to 1 or 2 conferences this year. And then finally, I think this is the last one, networking events. People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. So what networking events can you put into your calendar today to make sure that you are actually going to get it done in 2024? Networking events are a huge way to be able to meet new people, to be able to meet potential clients. Now remember, you don't have to go up when you're volunteering at an animal shelter and say, "Hi, I'm Brittany and I sell houses." That's not what you have to do. You just need to get to know people. Now, one of the things that I am committing to do next month, or next year, sorry, is I'm saying that I am seeking community involvement opportunities so that I have the opportunity to meet outside of that organization with somebody once a week. So whether that's going to church, whether that's volunteering somewhere, whether that is getting involved in some type of local organization, essentially what I'm doing is I'm finding somebody who I have some common ground with and saying, "Hey, let's go out to coffee. Let's go out to lunch. Let's do something fun outside of this and get to know each other a little bit better." And maybe that, probably more than likely what's going to come up is, "Yeah, I'm in real estate. Yeah, last year was rough. And this year we're, looking up and it's looking good." And it really doesn't need to be any more than that. If it leads to, "Oh, actually, I've been thinking about buying a house." Great, even better. And a lot of times it does. But that doesn't have to be the goal of the first time I say, "Hey, let's go out to coffee." But networking events and networking organizations and being a part of these things where that is your focus and your goal is a really good thing to get new clients. If you're feeling like, "I've exhausted my SOI," which, by the way, your SOI is still always and forever going to be your #1 source of business. But this is a way to add to your SOI, by the way. But if you feel like, "I've exhausted the people who I already know," then you need to meet more people. This is a really good way to meet more people. All right. Oh, and a business review. So this is actually looking at your own business and reviewing your business. You have to focus on the fact that you are an entrepreneur. You are a small business owner. Nobody is going to stop and look at your business like you will. So you need to be the one who does that. Now, whether you do that through QuickBooks, whether you do that through an Excel spreadsheet, whatever you want to do that, if you found an app that you like, you have to review your business expenses. You have to look at your taxes. You have to figure out where your money is going and if you need to cut. Remember, we like to talk about playing red light, green light with your finances. The red light, green light, meaning if you have money to spend, spend it. If you don't have money to spend, don't spend it. That's really all it is. It's very simple. And so you have to be at least quarterly doing a business review. So all of these things, talking about what to focus on, are things that you can put into your calendar. You can add this to your calendar. You can put this in and say, okay, I'm going to create a daily routine. So in my calendar every day, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a social media strategy every Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday. This is what I'm going to do. My client appreciation, I'm going to put it in my calendar every quarter to figure out a client appreciation gift idea to be able to send out to my clients. Educational commitment. I'm going to put in my calendar the times that I need to be in coaching, the times that I need to be doing whatever I'm doing. I'm going to put these things in my calendar. I'm going to put in these networking events. I'm going to put in a time to review my business. All of these things can be calendared. And that is what I didn't put on here is time management, because that is kind of an overarching view of what we're looking at is time management. As I check my watch, make sure I'm managing my time. We have to be excellent time managers in this business because it is so flexible. So many people, so many of us got into this business because we wanted that flexibility, because we wanted to manage our own time, and yet we don't do it. We just simply don't do it. And so we have to manage our calendar. That probably should have been the very first thing that I said we should focus on, is mastering our calendar, because that is the key. Hey guys, we're gonna jump into the workshop in just a second, but if you're getting value out of this, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you get more videos just like this as soon as they come out. And remember, if you're interested in coaching, reach out to me at the link below. I'd love to talk more about your individual business and how I could help move your business forward. Now let's jump back into the workshop. Let's talk about our action plan. We've seen this before. A goal without a plan is just a wish. So what we're doing today is creating that plan. Now, the way we create goals, so remember, I'm not digging deep into our 135. I'm not digging deep into our business plan. But what I want to do is make sure, what I want you to do is today, reflect back on your business plan and make sure that your business plan has these SMART goals. What does SMART stand for? It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And I prefer time-bound, actually. Timely is a little bit more confusing. So let's take, for example, open houses. If I say I want to do 2 open houses every single month. Now, is that a SMART goal? 2 open houses a month. It's specific. I can say yes, 2 open houses. It's measurable. How many am I doing? I'm doing 2. It's achievable. It's not like I'm saying I want to do 14 open houses, because that would be very difficult to achieve. 2 open houses is very achievable. It's realistic. It's something that is, you know, like I can actually do based on my life. And it's time bound. So it's saying in 1 month, I'm going to do this many open houses. So that's a good SMART goal. An example of not a very good SMART goal is I'm going to do more open houses this year. Is that specific? You're talking about I want to do open houses. Okay. Is it measurable? I want to do more open houses. Not really measurable. I mean, technically, I guess you could say I did 12 last year, and so I want to do more than that. That's kind of measurable. But do you see the idea is like, that is not a SMART goal. It's not specific enough. It's not measurable. So we want to make sure every single goal we have is a SMART goal. So if we're saying I need to contact my SOI more, well, what does that look like? How am I going to do that? Maybe that's saying I'm going to put all of my SOI on a quarterly call plan. I'm going to reach out to them every quarter, and I'm going to do that through command. Okay, great. Now that's a SMART goal. It's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's time bound. That is a SMART goal. Maybe we say, I want to do more client events. Okay, what is it that you're going to do? You have to be specific. Okay, I'm going to do 1 seminar a month as a client event. And here's how I'm going to do the follow-up, and here's how I'm gonna do the invites. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're talking about we're getting specific, we're getting measurable, we're gonna do it once a month. It's achievable, we can do that, it's realistic, and it's time-bound every single month. More specifically, what would be better if you said, I'm gonna do a workshop or a seminar, a buyer-seller seminar, once a month on the last Thursday of every month, which, by the way, I do buyer and seller seminars on the last Thursday of every month, so be sure to come. So that would be more timely or time-bound. That's now you're really saying that's something that you can take, put it into your calendar, and now you have something that you can act on every single month. That's what we're talking about here. We want to create something that is actionable. All right. We've seen this before, and I just think it is so just like exactly what happens in our lives. My goal in 2020 is to accomplish the goals I set in 2019, which I should have done in 2018 because I made a promise in 2017, which I planned in 2016. And we could really just fast forward this to 2024, right? It's the same thing that we do year after year after year after year, because a goal without a plan is just a wish. The antidote to this is we need to form habits. These need to become habits in our life. So just like we talked about before, it needs to become a routine. So in, I think that it's the book Atomic Habits, it's talking about how do we form a habit? Well, just like if we were, they talk about, there's a couple of concepts in the book Atomic Habits that I really like. One of them is, and I'm blanking on what it's actually called, but it's like attaching it to something else that you would do. So make it obvious. That's the first way to do it. Make it obvious is attaching it to something else that you always do every day. So one example would be, okay, I brush my teeth every morning. So as soon as I'm done brushing my teeth, I go to my computer, I open it up, and I do command. That's not that obvious, so that's probably not a very good idea. But something like that, where it's like, okay, how about, here's a better example. Every time I go and sit down at my desk, command is already open. It's the first thing that I see, probably because I've formed a habit that the day before I close down my computer, I pull it up and I set it to my tasks. So that is the first thing that I see. That would be a better example of forming a habit to make it obvious. Make it easy. It doesn't need to be something that's difficult. It needs to be something that's easy for you to do, which is why we form small little habits along the way. So another key aspect of Atomic Habits is saying just one more thing. So if I walk by and I see a piece of paper on the floor, I'm just gonna do that one thing. I'm gonna pick up the paper and throw it away. I'm not going to clean the whole house. I'm just gonna pick up a piece of paper and throw it away. So if I say, okay, I'm getting to the end of my task list in command, I'm just gonna do one more. I'm only gonna do one more. Or if we back that up to the beginning of our day and I say, I'm gonna make 10 calls. I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to leave any messages if I don't want. I'm just gonna make 10 calls. The idea is that you're forming the habit and you're trying to make it easy. So you're forming the habit of making calls. Now, if somebody answers, are you gonna hang up on them? Probably not, I hope not. And so that's the idea, is like, okay, I'm not saying I'm going to talk to 10 people, because these days, I mean, everyone's screening their calls. You're probably never gonna talk to 10 people, even if you called 5,000 in a day. So what I need to do is I need to make it easy. And I need to say, I'm gonna make 10 phone calls. And you level that up to wherever you are. If you say, I already make 100 phone calls a day, great. Your next step then is to make 120, whatever it is. You're making it easy for yourself, but you're leveling it up to whatever level you're on. Make it satisfying. Give yourself a reward of some kind. Now, we're not talking about like a chocolate bar. We're not talking about, you know, something that you shouldn't have necessarily, but you're just saying like, okay, I really want to go on a walk, but before I do that, I'm going to make my 10 calls. And then I'm going to reward myself by taking my puppy on a walk. Maybe that's something that would be satisfying to you. Now, if you hate that, don't do that. That won't work for you. But if it's something that it brings you joy in some way, or even like at the end of the day, I just want to go and like be brain dead for a little bit. I want to zone out and I want to binge watch my favorite show. Great. Finish your 10 calls and then I can go do that. We're talking about forming a habit. Make it stacked. So this is actually what I was talking about. I forgot that I had this in here. This is stacking your habits. So it's doing something that's already a habit and you're stacking it to create a new habit. So if it's already a habit to brush your teeth, then right after you brush your teeth or during you brushing your teeth, you're going to also, right after, maybe look through the hot sheets. Whatever it is, whatever you're trying to do to form that habit. You're stacking it with something that's already a habit. Maybe right after lunch, you're going to say, okay, as soon as I'm done with lunch, as soon as I'm done eating and cleaning up and whatever I need to do, I'm going to go back and I'm going to make 10 phone calls. Make it stacked. We need to form a habit because remember, the more routines our brains can make, where we're making those roads, we're paving those roads, we're getting that in line, the easier it'll be. Remember, top producers don't think it's hard to call 10 people. Top producers say, I do what I gotta do. Yeah, of course I'm calling 10 people a day. Of course I'm calling 10 people on my commute. Of course I'm calling, whatever it is. One of the things that I've shared with you before, you guys know I love podcasts and audiobooks and things like that. And so one of my habits is that on my commute, any commute that I'm doing, whether it's to the office or to a listing or to meet up with a client, I'm listening to a podcast or I'm listening to an audiobook or I'm listening to something real estate related or business related or leadership related. And if I'm not, because it's now a habit, it feels weird to me. So every so often I'll get in the car and I'll be like singing along to my Christmas music or whatever automatically comes on. And I realize, wait. I'm on my commute. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be listening to my podcast. And so I change it over because I have formed that habit. So it makes it easier. All right. Now, what I want to do is I want to jump into command. We're going to talk about commanding your goals. And I know because you guys have been with me for so long talking about this, I know that you've created your goals in command. And just in case, we're going to review it one more time, but we're going to review it on like super speed, super fast. So when we're creating goals in command, we are understanding how many appointments we need to meet our goals. That's what it's doing for us. And then I also want us to talk about tasks and task follow-up. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then reshare to my command. All right. And then just as a reminder, command only likes to work in Google Chrome. So if you're not in Google Chrome, switch over. All right. Now remember, we're going to this reports tab on the left, the reports icon. And to be honest, you're not going into this reports icon very often unless you have a reason to be here. And so this is one of the reasons why it's important to calendar checking on your business and doing your business review. Because if you don't have it calendared, you're never going to come in and look at this data, which is very important to your business. I know a lot of people who have come and done these with me, and then they're like, wait, how do I find that again? How do I get into that? Because they never look at it ever again. So we have to make sure that we're coming in here. We have to just calendar it because otherwise you're never going to do it. All right, so we're going to go over here to goals. This is where we're first going to go. And you can see here, I'm going to just show you before we jump in, because sometimes it glitches out on me when I'm trying to do this. it's going to show us how many closed units we need. Now, we don't convert 100% of our leads, right? We don't. I wish we did. We'd be bajillionaires, but we don't. And so we need to find out what's called our conversion rate. How much do we convert to the next step? And so we're going to look at that when we do this. But when it says we need 12 closed units in a year, we actually need to have 16 under contract. Because of what the typical conversion rates are, we have to have some under contract because guess what? Some are going to fall out of escrow and they're not going to close. And we all know that realistically, the only thing that matters is what closes. And so we need to be able to track these numbers to be able to work backwards to see, okay, how many appointments do I need to have every week? Because that's going to be our focus in 2024 is getting the appointment, getting that appointment, getting to that appointment. So we say, okay, we're going to have 16 under contract. By the way, another side note, right now in this time of year, in this season, in this market, in this whatever craziness we're in, lots of things are falling out of escrow. And so we might even want to make this number a little bit bigger, this percentage a little higher, or I guess a little lower, because less things are converting to a closed transaction. Back when it was 2% interest rates, everything was closing. Nobody was letting those things fall out. And so right now, when it's like, oh, interest rates have gone up 0.5 point in 2 days, now is when things are falling out, because now all of a sudden people who hadn't locked in their rate are now in this higher rate and they say, seller, can you pay for it? And the seller says, no, we can't pay for it. And everything crumbles and falls apart. So it's really important to understand, number one, how to keep a transaction together, but also your conversion rates. All right, so basically we're working backwards. We need 12 closed units, which means we need 16 under contract, which means we need 22 agreements, which means we need 30 appointments kept, which means we need 38 appointments set, which means we need 780 contacts, which means we need 15,000 leads. Now, I actually don't really pay attention to this number here, the leads, because this is talking about like online leads. It's talking about the nonsense leads. It's talking about all kinds of stuff. I don't really care about that. I don't keep track about that. These contacts are more of an important number, but the most important number and the number I actually look at is this, appointments set. And if you notice, now, if you note, we're going to go in and manipulate all these numbers, but based on this, we need to have 38 appointments set. Now we have 52 weeks in a year. And if we take a couple of those weeks out for vacations and things like that, we take a couple of weeks out because, oops, we didn't hit our mark and we didn't get that appointment. 38 appointments translates to about 1 a week. So in coaching, we really try to get you to focus on having 1 appointment a week, because some weeks you're not going to have it. Some weeks you are going to have multiples, which is great. Some weeks you're going to take off. Some weeks you're going to be on vacation. Some weeks you're going to be dead. So focusing on 1 appointment a week is going to be key. All right, that was just a little snapshot for you. Now, we're going to go back up here. We're going to press plus the goal setting. And we're going to do it for 2024. But right now, this is just showing us what we're looking at. So we don't really care. We're going to go into goal settings. And we're going to say get started. And remember, I'm not slowing this down. I've done other videos where it's slowed down. You can go and find those or email me to figure out where to find those. I can send them to you. So we're looking at next year, 2024. Our annual profit goal, let's say 200,000. Okay, so remember, our profit means what we want in our pockets, what we want to come home to us. Now, keep in mind that this calculation is not including taxes. So separately, you're going to have to account for about 30% coming out of this going to taxes. So if your household needs $100,000 to be able to keep the lights on and pay the bills, that means you actually need about $133,000 because you have to pay taxes. So you have to make more. And then we are talking about, not included in this is actually our expenses and our cost of sales. Now, your expenses and your cost of sales, according to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, the MREA, is about 3% each. Now, of course, the difference between the cost of sales and the expenses is that expenses are kind of fixed expenses. It's your cell phone bill, it's your credit card, although you shouldn't have a credit card, you should pay it off every month, but you know, that's that kind of thing. Cost of sales only occurs when you have a transaction. So it's going to be maybe your just sold cards, your just sold campaigns, your splits, your money that you're giving to a TC, your coaching fees, all of that is a cost of sale. It only happens when you make a sale. So we're going to say, now I'm telling you that the MREA book says about 30% and 30% for each of these. However, the MREA book is specifically looking at millionaire real estate agents. That's why it's called that. And so they're saying, okay, if you're netting, if you're profiting $1 million, here's what these people's businesses look like. So we could say 30% of 200,000 is 60,000, right? I think that's a little high. I'm going to keep it at 30,000 each. So 30,000 for expenses, 30,000 for cost of sale. And then your business makeup, we're going to leave it at 50% buyer, 50% listings. And then average commission. Now this is based on your market center. Most of the market centers are around $17,000 per commission. So I'm going to put $17,000 here. So $17,000 for the buyer side, $17,000 for the seller side. Now, a lot of times, like in our market, you get more when you're on the listing side. So you could put more. However, I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to make it easy, and I'm going to leave it the same, saying listings and buyers. But remember, this is for you and your business, so you can do this however you would like. All right, now, if you notice over here, it says you need $260,000 annual GCI, your gross commission income. And the reason it's over is because it breaks it down right here. You're saying you want to make $200,000, and you also have to account for $30,000 for your cost of sale, $30,000 for your expenses. So keep that in mind. We need to get extra to be able to pocket, bring home that $200,000. All right, now let's continue. Now here's where we talk about the conversion rates. The way that it's set for you is the way that it always is. This is statistics show that these are kind of the breakdown, so it makes it easy. But if you want to change it, you can change it. Now this set individually, that means set individually for listers, for listings and for buyers. I'm going to leave it as is though. And remember I said that a lot of times when you get into this under contract, that's where they're starting to fall through. So this says 75% of what you have under contract is actually going to close. You may want to change that to 60% or 65%, whatever you think your business is. If you don't know, just leave it at this. This is totally fine because we're just wanting to do kind of a quick and dirty analysis. All right, so I said continue. Now we're here. It's going to show this is what you said. Now I'm going to go down here and say set goals. And now it's going to show us, hopefully, I'm going to go to 2024 because remember that's what we were doing. And of course, it's not going to show us because it doesn't like me to do this. 2023, nope, we want to go to 2024. Why? Every time I'm trying to show this, it does this. Hopefully it works better for you, but right now, I don't know. It's not going to work. Oh, this is so annoying. All right, let me switch it back to 2023 and see if this will pop up. All right. So you can change it from this year to this month. And then you can really see the breakdown, like 3 appointments set per month. That's what you can do because your goal is 1 a month. So you can see how you can look at this. Once we're in 2024, this will be less fussy. And it's annoying that it's not working, but it's not working right now. Okay, but let's go back to 2023. And essentially, this is where we have what we had already talked about. So we are working backwards. So let's just say our goal is 12 closed units. And then we work backwards and we say, that means I need to set 38 appointments this year. This is what we are now calendaring for. Now, what I want to show you is, remember I said, the very first thing you should do is open up your command. You need to look at your tasks. So if you create tasks based on your goals, that's now going to help you out a lot. The best and easiest thing you should do is make sure that you have your task set for your quarterly call plans. That is a smart plan that you would do right here. Download the smart plan. Remember, we have videos for this. Your quarterly call plans then are going to help inform you of who to call and what to do. You're not going to have to remember it off the top of your head. Now, a quarterly call plan does not need to be a phone call every time. It can be a text. It can be a pop by. You can bring, if you're talking about your client appreciation and they're one of your clients, you can say, okay, now I'm going to bring over a hot cocoa, something or other. Now I'm going to invite them to something. So you can see on mine, I have a bunch of quarterly call plans. I also have, I thought I saw a schedule a lunch with somebody. Anyway, you can see what I have. And this helps me so much because I'm able to come in here and say, okay, what do I have to do today? I can filter it by due today. You can see I only have one thing to do. I can say what's due in the next 7 days. I can say past due. And you can see I have 81 tasks to complete. So if I say I want to go to the most recent, I just click on this and go to the very end. And now I'm able to say, okay, what's the most recent thing? And that's what I want to focus on. So my tasks really keep me, let me just stop sharing. My tasks really keep me focused on what I need to do. And I would highly recommend going into your tasks and really focusing on what tasks you're going to use to complete and how you're going to use that to help your business plan. Okay. Task follow-up is one of the most important things that you need to get down in 2024. Command helps you with this. Now, I will say you need to use command. Like I've gone through periods of coaching where I say, you should use command. It's really helpful. You have access to it anyway. You might as well use it. And I stopped saying that. And now I'm saying you need to use command because nobody can do this on their own. Nobody can remember all of their clients and all of their last conversations that they had and remember to follow up with them quarterly. You can't do it on your own. So now I've gone from saying you should use command to you need to use command. And you just need to get comfortable with it. So every single day, it should be something that you put into your calendar to use. Your smart plans, remember the most important smart plan to use is your quarterly call plan. Keep in mind that best practice is to get into contact to touch, quote unquote, touch your clients, your SOI, your future clients, your potential clients 36 times a year. 36 times a year is like impossible to do on your own unless you work with them and you see them every single day of your life. Most of you don't do that for very many people. And so you have to get your smart plans to work for you. So if you send out, if you have a quarterly call plan set up, that's 4 times a year. If you have a biweekly neighborhood nurture that you're sending something out twice a month to them, that's 24 times a year. If you do a monthly newsletter, now that is, I don't know, 12 more times a year. I think that's 32. If you do a client event, if you do a pop by, if you do a Christmas card, all of those are additional touches. And so now we're getting up to 36 times a year. But if you're not doing smart plans, if you're not using command, I would say there's almost no way for you to do this. One more thing, just before we move on, to be able to use command at a high level, you can also schedule your social media posts. So one of the ways that I like to schedule my posts is specifically for holidays, because I want my holidays to be about my family. I don't want it to be about posting everything. So I want to make sure that I'm present with my family, but I also need to be posting on social media because everybody else is. So use those social media, schedule that in command. It's super easy. I've done videos about it before. Go back and check it out. All right, so how do we win? What is important now? This first one actually is one we didn't exactly talk about, but it's create your 411. Your 411 is connected to your 135 business plan. So just like we didn't talk about your 135 business plan, we didn't talk about your 411, but it's essentially a very similar thing as what we were talking about when we were talking about what you need to focus on. So your 411 informs your day-to-day activities. So the 135 is one goal, sell 12 houses, 3 strategies. I'm going to do that by lead generation, by social media, and by educating myself. And then within that, we have 5 strategies to do that. So I'm going to do 2 open houses a month. I'm going to put all my contacts on a quarterly call plan, and I'm going to follow up with that. I'm going to create 4 pop-by calendars so I can go and do my client appreciation 4 times a year, whatever that may be. Now your 411 is 4 weeks, 1 month, 1 year. So you're going to say, okay, I said I was going to do my, I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. I said I was going to do a client appreciation event. So I'm going to do that this month. So for each week, I'm going to break that down and I'm going to say, okay, this week I'm going to plan what that is. The next week I'm going to have a social media calendar to really push it out. The following week I'm going to focus on doing specific invites. And then the following week I'm actually going to put it into practice. So that's essentially your 411. Your 411 informs your day-to-day activities and enables you to calendar it. You can Google this, you can look this up, you can go onto YouTube and find a 411 because it is a Keller Williams kind of specific business plan topic. Create those tiny habits, establish tiny habits to move your business forward. What's the one thing that you can stack on? What's the one thing that you can do? One extra thing, just one more. Those tiny habits are what grow to become atomic habits. And then finally, track your habits. Use a habit tracker to be sure that you're staying on track. Use command to make sure that you're checking things off the list. Track this so that you can make sure you're actually getting it done and creating that routine so that eventually you don't have to track it. All right, and then your bonus for today, my favorite books. You guys know I love to read and I love to listen to books. Atomic Habits, we talked about that. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is kind of like more of a person-to-person kind of book. How are people very effective? This is a really good book when talking to people and when really figuring out like how to communicate with different people. It's super helpful. The One Thing, this is This is a Keller Williams book, essentially. It's by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. And it's specifically talking about what's the one thing that can move your business forward? What's the one thing that you need to do that makes everything else essentially unnecessary to do? So we work backwards. If we say, okay, the one thing that I need to do is schedule this client event. Well, what do I need to do before that? What's the one thing I need to do? Okay, to schedule this client event, I need to research what the client event is going to be. Okay, what's the one thing to get that done? I need to sit down at my computer and make sure I get that done. What's the one thing I need to do to get that done? I need to put it on my calendar and make sure it happens. So what's the one thing to get that done? I'm putting it on my calendar right now. So we're working backwards to get to what's the one thing that's going to trigger all of this to happen and make it as easy as possible. And then Miracle Morning. If you guys haven't read this, it's a short, quick, easy read, and it really just talks about how to create routines in the morning. There is one for real estate agents. It's almost exactly the same as the original Miracle Morning, but it's just, if you're looking to create a morning routine, it's a good way to do that. All right, we do not have any workshops for the next 2 weeks. We will be back the second week in January. I think it's the 11th, and we're gonna be doing contracts with Lori. So if you guys have any questions about coaching, feel free to reach out. Here's my email, my phone number. I would love to talk to you more about it. Well, I hope that helped. And remember, I'm here every Monday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to help you move your business forward. Join me in the weekly workshops where you can come live and get your questions answered in real time. I would love to see you there. Register at the link below. And remember, if you have questions about coaching or want to dive in, or even just want to have a call to me to see how you can grow your business, schedule a call with me in the link below. I'd love to help. In the meantime, if you're getting value out of this, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for staying for the whole thing. Check out the other videos that we have that are sure to move your business forward. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.